Show with Tip. Oh my gosh. Guys, first of all, thank y'all so much for tuning in to the previous episode. Now we're going to be actually going behind the scenes, talking about a few things that we want to go through. We're going to these are things that we want to know personally as well.
Okay,
So
yeah, sure.
So
Hey, wait, I want to do something different, fam. Can we just have a few questions? They may be random questions that are not related to what we're doing. Then we get back into the conversation.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to say, what's your favorite color?
Ooh, all things pastel.
All things pastel.
Yes.
Oh
So
my-
I like all pastel colors. I was born in the spring, so I love spring colors.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
a good thing.
Yeah.
Fam, you got a question?
Biggie or Tupac?
Ooh, Tupac. I'm sorry.
So you're the poetic person.
I'm a Tupac. But I think the reason why I said Tupac because he fine.
You better put one of them Jada Pinkett on this now. Jada, we ain't at the red table. We at the brown square table. So let me ask you a question. When was the last time you cried at the movies?
Ooh, probably about 5 months ago.
Mhm.
But I think it was. I don't think it was like at the movies. I want to say it was just inside of my apartment.
Okay. And what was the movie?
I was watching one of those Hallmark movies. I don't know, and they're always
Them Lifetime of Hallmark.
man, those are the ones. And so it's always it's crazy because it's the typical love story. Like the person, this person meets that person, they argue a little bit, and they fall in love with each other, and then something happens, and then they split up, and they can't stand each other, but then they find out the truth, and then it's just like, oh,
The tears fall.
so
My last question: married, single, or single and unavailable?
are
Are you married, single, and
not
unavailable?
married, not single and unavailable. I'm just single.
You're single.
I'm just single.
right,
Yeah,
fellas.
yeah.
All right, but first of all, it's our sister. So if you come, you better come correct. Because we don't play like no.
Yeah, just single until
And you better be insured.
to the point to where I would say partially unavailable because I'm trying to get someplace in my career.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that I can focus on that, and then once I do it, then I can focus on some other stuff.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about insurance. Let's talk about a little more insurance. And so so term life insurance and whole life insurance are some of the major insurance carriers. And I like the benefit. So there's a philosophy that most people talk about is like buy term and invest the difference. And so you could pretty much kind of assist with that once you start with that whole process with that.
Absolutely.
Do you do what is it called? Paid up or cash paid up term insurance, or is that a product that you pretty much
So and with the company that I work for, no. Term, I think it's just more so. I think you have the availability to get, anything up to 20 years.
Gotcha. Okay. That's good.
And then once the 20-year term ends, it's kind of the end of it. But I always like to, one of the things I always like to tell people when it comes down to term, and I always like to kind of break it down and explain it to people so they'll truly understand it, because oftentimes we'll use insurance jargon and then people are like, what are you talking about? So when I relate to term, I always say it's just like renting. It's just like renting. So basically you have a lease for 20 years, and then once your 20 years is up, you got to move out, right? And then whole life is just kind of like your home, like you're a homeowner. As long as you pay your mortgage, you own it. And you get equity in it, which is the cash value. So I try to relate those to, to people so they'll truly understand how this works when it comes down to the different types of insurance and things of that nature. So.
While you were talking, I was thinking about, because we actually, as we do home care, a lot of our seniors, they have insurance. A lot of them, they have like small cash value policies as well, because and when it comes to qualifying for Medicaid, they can only have so much insurance. And I was trying to go through and look up that total amount.
What's it,
but
5 or 10,000 or something like that?
I think it's like 10,000. I think it's somewhere in that area. But let's talk about long-term care insurance. I think a lot of times we see in the senior industry, a lot of people do not have it. A lot of people say it's out of reach. A lot of you have, like, tell me about long-term care insurance. Like,
Yeah. So when it comes down to long-term care insurance, oftentimes when you're older, it's very hard to get because most times you're already, experiencing some type of something, whether it be diabetes or high blood pressure or something of that nature. It's super hard. And if you do get it, it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's all get out. And so oftentimes what I'll tell people is, even at a young age, just like with life insurance, you want to make sure that you try to get some long-term care in place as well, because you never know.
Yeah.
Just like, when we, did the session just a minute ago, my nephew passed away 35 years old and had nothing. And so, of course, family we had to do GoFundMe and all this. And let me tell you something. When I say that hurt me to the core,
man,
as an insurance agent, that hurt me more than anything else, because I was just like, and I just talked to him. And I ain't even asked.
Wow.
And so I was just like, oh yeah, I'm asking from here on out, I'm asking everybody else.
Exactly.
I was like, there will never come a time where I was like, if you tell me no, then you just gonna have to tell me no. But I was like, I'm gonna ask. That's gonna be the thing.
What are some of the questions? Because like right now, whenever we're eating dinner with our families at home and our audience are eating family dinners at home, and we don't know if our dad, mom, cousin, partner, sister, wife, whatever has insurance. So what are some of the questions that we need to? Should we just be direct, or should we just kind of
be direct?
Be direct with it.
Be direct with it, because I'm in the process now with helping my mom and my dad, trying to make sure they have everything in place. I need to know where everything is listed. I need all the phone numbers listed down for people that I need to call, because you guys are getting. Oh, my dad is 81. My mom is 68, 69. One of those. But anyway, I'm like, hey, whatever you guys have in place, let's put it in one place. And I need to know how much it is, and who's the beneficiaries and all of that jazz. Because again, nobody ever wants to talk about death, but we know that it's going to happen.
Oh yes,
right. So we just want to be prepared for it. Hey, we love mom and daddy, but we need to ask those questions. Is it easy? Absolutely not. But you have to find some time and say, hey, mom, I know that you probably don't want to talk about it, but this is what I wanted to ask you. And we want to make sure that we have everything in place and we know where everything is. And then if they have bank accounts, they need to have beneficiaries on it, because if they don't, guess who takes the money? The bank.
Yep.
No way.
Yes, they do.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
So make sure if any money that's outside of a life insurance policy, that it has a beneficiary.
So it doesn't go back to the family members?
No, it does not.
Oh,
it was funny. Like when my wife and I were writing our will out, we did very detailed. We went through, we're in the process of revising because we had another child, but this is one we had before. We wrote out every bank account. We wrote out every last thing. Even I got, like, we have a safe in a certain part of our house. I'm about to tell everybody where's that.
Well, I'll be up in there. What he said, 5.
We have a safe in the house that keeps everything, our insurance policies, the bank information, because just in case something happens, and I got to let you know where it's at. I'll let one of our sisters know where it's at. But so people know what happened, because Lord forbid if something happened to my wife and I, and we got the kids left, they need to know where the plans. Let's execute the plans and the wishes.
Absolutely.
And it's in writing.
Yes.
That's
important. That's so important. Oftentimes, you got families, when somebody passed away, they trying to figure out who gonna take the washing machine and the dryer and who gonna take the refrigerator. People are arguing over silly stuff. What I'm saying? And so that's one of the things that people need to have in place when it comes down to, okay, so who's going to take the music collection and who's going to take, because I know my dad, he's a musician. And so he has like a whole bunch of he has a saxophone and some other things. And I'm like, okay, so who's going to get all of that? Do you have it written down in regards to who's going to get? Because it's 9 of us.
Wow.
It's 9 of us total. And so
to stop the arguments are going to be confusion.
But like Daddy said this.
Exactly.
And so, there's no, unless you want to give it up, this is what he said, and this is who it goes to, and that's the end of it, right? But it's super important to have a will in place, because, and it's not something that I do, and I always try to, if I can, match them to somebody who's going to actually help them out.
Exactly.
But having a will in place is super, super important, because so oftentimes, people get upset about money.
Yep.
Who's gonna take this and who's gonna take that. So it's very, very imperative.
And I think just like you said as well, even having a certain place where you keep all those important documents, because Lord forbid, like it'll be embarrassing to go through. Just imagine if we didn't know where our dad's stuff was. Well, he's married, so I don't know where his stuff is. His wife probably knows where it's at, but somebody needs to know where it's at.
And probably don't know.
I don't want to have to do a GoFundMe because he probably have insurance, but I have access to nothing.
But see, at the same time or whatever, not only that. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, my dad passes away and my mom is having to get she's not in a mental capacity to be able to go try to find any of that stuff.
Exactly.
Somebody else needs to know as well. And so that's why I always say, hey, let me know, because I know, how these things go and what mental, space these people are actually in oftentimes, because I've been around, people passing away as long as I can remember, because my uncle owned a funeral home before he passed away. And so I've experienced, losses over almost my entire life. So I understand what that looks like. So it's best to be able to not only let wife know, but also somebody else too.
I want to talk about owning policies. Like say if your sister or your family member or your partner or whoever can't afford a policy, can you take a policy out on them?
Now, yes and no.
Okay, well, tell me.
So yes, you can, only if they are healthy enough to be qualified to get a policy.
Okay. What if they're healthy enough to get qualified?
So your family member can actually take out a policy on you. They just have to be in a mental capacity to be able to sign off on it, and then you can pay for it. Absolutely.
Okay. Do you see that in a lot of communities where, like, a lot of people, well, I'm just going to talk about do you see that just in communities where people can't afford the policy, but someone else is paying for it?
Yeah, just had that happen. I had a guy who I got to deliver a policy to him on Thursday, on tomorrow. But he is retired, and his sons, they can't afford it. And so he was like, well, I just want to make sure I have enough to be able to, just to bury them or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, this is what I recommend, because oftentimes people don't really truly understand the cost that's associated with burial. And so I was like, okay, I always tell him. And so I was able to get him something to where to where he could afford, but also as well to where it was something that his son would agree to. It's not like, oh, I'm finna get this policy on this person, whatever. They don't even know it. So if they die, then I got it. No. They're going to know.
We're gonna put $1 million.
No, they're going to know. So because they have to sign off on it. Yeah, because they're the insured, so they have to sign off on it. But yes, that happens often.
Can you explain when people say like primary beneficiary and contingent beneficiaries? What do they mean by that?
So the primary beneficiary is the person, in the event that someone passes away, the primary beneficiary will get whatever the portion is that's dedicated to them. So you may have, just one primary beneficiary, and they may have 100%, or it may be, so let's just say y'all got a policy on me, and 50% goes to you, 50% goes
let's
to you.
Let's say 60-40.
Okay. So as the primary, you'll get the 60, you'll get the 40. So it goes directly to you. However, if something happens to both of y'all, then it goes to the second person.
Gotcha. The contingent.
So it goes to the contingent. So the secondary person, and then if something happens to that person, then it goes to the third person.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Look,
let me ask you a question. So for Ferris, I'm going to pull you out, use as an example. So if Ferris has a policy on himself or his wife or whatever, and so he could leave it to kids, or is there a certain age group that he can leave it to?
So we try not to leave it to kids. Kids that are under the age of 18, we don't want to leave policies to. And the only reason why we don't want to do that is because of the fact that if you do, it goes to probate court. And then probate court will decide who it actually goes to, how they actually get it. And so what we try to do is tell people, if you're going to leave it to kids, leave it to a trust.
I was about to say,
Yes,
so you can leave it to a trust, and the trustee of the trust can kind of operate.
Yes. And that way it goes directly to, it goes to the trust. Once the money goes into the trust will actually have its guidelines in regards to how it can be spent.
Exactly.
And so that way you're dictating how the money is going to be spent from the grave.
Even when you're dead. Like, Dad, always try to tell me what to do.
Absolutely.
Get this when you're 35.
If it goes to probate, it takes a really long time for that money to come.
And a lot of times,
trust accounts,
and a lot of times when things go to probate, people can't afford, especially when you have different estates and stuff like that, people can't afford to pay those taxes and stuff right then. And that's how a lot of people lose a lot of property and things because people are uninsured.
How many insurance policies can someone have on themselves?
As many as you want. Yeah, you can have as many as you want. The thing is, it's just depending on your net worth will determine how much you'll have as a whole.
Because you'll actually be paying for it anyway.
Correct. Yeah. So you'll actually, so if you decide, okay, well, right now I want to have, two $100,000 policies. Well, in the next 2 years, well, actually, I want to do 3 more. As long as it's within the amount of coverage that you're dedicated to have based on your net worth, then you're good. You can have as many policies as you want to, as long as you can afford it.
Don't get this policy and let it lapse.
You know what? This $100,000 left. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Well, I want to keep this conversation moving forward, but guys, we're going to be actually inviting Tip to actually communicate, to conversate with our larger team. So she's going to be doing a really nice presentation of Prime Care. So again, side note, just go ahead and join the Prime Care family, guys. We always hiring. But Tip, we just want to say thank you so much for actually sticking around with the after show. We appreciate everything you're doing. I know you're going to ready to go through and rock the stage and really impact our team as well. So I'm just so proud. I'm so proud that you're in our perfect, girl.
It's just amazing. And then what is it to end this? Can you give us one of them maroon and gold cheers?
That's a